disappear. They apparently do not understand why he persists, why he keeps sticking around. Who's the guy with the bucket anyway? Right? Can't we make this guy go away? But Newt Gingrich is sticking around. Newt Gingrich has a message here. He is a message guy. And for a country that is transfixed with the race between him and Mitt Romney, he is doing more than anybody else in the country right now to define who Mitt Romney is. Joining us now is Karen Tumulty. She's the national political correspondent for the Washington Post, reporting from South Florida today. Karen, thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
You probably remembered the bucket story. I was very happy to go back in time and figure out that it was about ice deliveries.
Oh, yeah, he did a lot of things. He got rid of the House barber shop. I believe he may have also fired the House historian. So there were a lot of things that Newt Gingrich was doing back in those days.
Well, he'd just take care of that in-house. He's a very well-compensated historian, you may have heard. The pro-Newt Gingrich super PAC is reportedly planning to buy airtime for this anti-Mitt Romney Medicare sort of pseudo-documentary. What do you foresee as being the impact of that?
Well, I'm not really sure, because remember that this is a state that elected a governor. And in fact, he was the Tea Party candidate, elected a governor who himself had been accused of running a company that was accused of Medicare fraud. So I don't know how far this takes him. And I also think that, just the whole headline blood money kind of takes us a little bit over the top here. But just the whole, it is sort of one of the more interesting things we've seen this year. I mean, here is this guy who was in Congress for close to a quarter of a century. He was the Speaker of the House. He was one of the most popular surrogates out there on the campaign trail for everybody. And he's not the establishment. So it's been a real sort of funny Empire Strikes Back kind of drama going on here.
I feel like the analysis that the blood money thing is a little bit too far, a little bit too much, sort of applies in all politics except for politics right now. It is hard for me to imagine something being seen as too over the top, given the way that these guys have been talking and going at each other. I mean, didn't Mr. Gingrich say today that Mr. Romney was like the most dishonest presidential candidate ever in American history?
In an interview with my colleague, Amy Gardner at the Washington Post, he said that what Mitt Romney did to him last night during the debate was the most dishonest thing he had ever seen in presidential politics. Now, mind you, this is a man who is old enough to remember Watergate. So it was a pretty extraordinary statement.
Karen, in terms of the Republican establishment, we are seeing Marco Rubio complaining a little bit about Newt Gingrich, but neither Marco Rubio nor Rick Scott, the Medicare fraud-tainted Florida governor, nor Jeb Bush, a very popular former governor there in Florida, they are not endorsing anybody. If the establishment is so squarely behind Romney and so anti-Newt Gingrich, why isn't the Florida Republican establishment doing that same thing?
Well, first of all, they haven't officially endorsed Romney, but both Rubio and Jeb Bush, who is basically a saint to the conservative movement, have issued statements that were supportive of Romney. Essentially, they defended Romney against Newt Gingrich's characterization that he basically has the same team that ran Charlie Crist's campaign for governor here. Charlie Crist, of course, was a Republican incumbent who had to become an independent because he was going to be defeated on his own ballot. So they have done some things that are supportive of him. But I think, quite frankly, that what you have here in Florida, as you have all over the country, is this very deep divide within the Republican Party between the establishment and the insurgent Tea Party forces. And Marco Rubio is the Tea Party's guy. So the last thing I think he wants to do is get into the middle of this fight.
Karen Tumulty, national political correspondent for the Washington Post. Thank you for your time tonight. Enjoy these last few days in Florida. I have a feeling it's going to get more fun and not less.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Great news. Turns out there is a crack in the dam in terms of prominent elected Republicans refusing to come on this show. I think we've got a line on a good one. And the way we got a line on a good one is very, very strange. I'll explain that in just a second.